your comment about OBV is totally spot on. Looks like things were rocking and rolling, and then clearly, no doubt, something really negative happened fundamental wise right here. Whatever this date was right there, you need to figure out what it was that happened here fundamentally, and that story hasn't changed yet. It does look like the bear has fallen asleep, and it does look like the bull tried to wake up here. Something happened here on this date to try and change the story. If you are a fan of this and you're asking specifically about this asset, what fundamentally happened through this window? ONT. Interesting, OBV. Yeah, you're right. Somebody came in here and bought quite a bit here. It is pointing up. So the sellers aren't really that aggressive here. In fact, as the price is coming down, everybody's just gone dead quiet here. Looking at it on a daily chart, this looks a lot like the fill. Same sort of idea. Bottom through the end of the last year. And then, of course, FTX fucked us all over. So it looks like they're coming back and fucking us again. Pretty well defined M top there. Oh boy, that looks ugly. And, of course, now lower highs and lower lows. We had a panic dump low into that level there. Boom. And we actually traded to lower low there. Yuck, that's not good. Also, too, the message of the market. Notice this is a V bottom, but notice this is a very well-defined M top. In fact, actually really well-defined. Given this sort of temperament within the crypto space and the time of year, the seasonality, this doesn't surprise me. I mean, obviously, crypto enthusiasts, you didn't really want to see this, but it doesn't surprise me this time of year. Remember, September is the worst performing month in the market. No ifs, ands, or buts. So we just made a new low. I mean, you might have said, okay, so new low, they rallied it back. All right, can I get like a W or something? Then, dump down. This is now looking very emmy. Then rally back up. The high here was right there. They took it literally through that high by like just a couple pennies. And if you were trading this and you were pretty light on your toes, unfortunately, like if we change this to a line chart, does the W just disappear? I mean, look at that, right? Ugh. Wow, that's horrible. If anything, it might even behoove you in this kind of market state. Let's not get sucked into, just candle body, tail lows, defining W's. If we make a lower closing low, then you better temper your enthusiasm. So this is an interesting price pattern here right now. Because what this is basically saying is there's a low there, and there's a closing low there, and look where we are right now. So if some sort of white knight could come in and turn this thing and hold this low, and it could turn its way back up here, I think you're going to have a seriously legitimate bottom. But that's a big if. Now, with regard specifically to your OBV conversation, OBV pretty bullish. One thing that's a bit concerning about this is you don't like to see, though, that you have lower highs in the bullish bar volume. Now, it is lower highs in price, but, like a volume impetus signal, if we get one, then this is lower, then you get another little volume node here that's green, but it's lower than this high. Then that'll be a third. And then if we get a really low volume node, say something like that right there, that actually becomes the bulls have officially fallen asleep signal. I mean, you all know how this goes, especially if you're taking the education program. So that's a bit concerning, the fact that this rally breakout attempt was on much, much lower volume. Having said that, it doesn't really appear to be a huge sort of flood of sellers. What I think here is there's just not a lot of buying interest here. And path of least resistance in this kind of game, especially, I mean, I don't know the tokenomics of this, but if this is POS and people are actually getting paid to stake the platform, then when they get those coins, they might just be instantly selling them, which means that there's a constant flood of supply hitting the market. And it's going to be a drip, 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 drip. It's not like, some insider is selling 10% of the company and you get these big honking red candles. It's more just like drip, 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 sell, 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 drip, 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 sell, 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 drip, drip, drip. It's not like they're like uber insanely bearish. It's just, they're selling because they want the money. And keep in mind, like if you look at any stock, it usually spends most of its life going down, not going up. And it only spends a very, very small portion of its life going up because there are people that get paid stock and they want money. They don't want the stock. So they're just natural sellers. So interesting comment on OBV. I do like it as a visual reference that buyers are buying. Is this OBV divergence? Yes, it is. This is probably a really good example. The market can remain illogical far longer than any of us can remain solvent. So, buyers are buying this thing. Whatever the story is, the bulls, they're buying and they're not letting go of their coins. And you might even argue just where we are right now is basically the same price as we are basically at the end of last year. And even really, there's FTX bullshit, panic dump collapse. So we're just sitting, in essence, this past year, it's been a hurry up and do nothing for these guys. Suppose you could argue if you did have the kunis to step in off the end of the year bottom there, and it really wasn't much of one, but if you did, you probably got your double off. Eddie probably got a double off on this kind of thing. And we are back down at the bottom of the range. But again, this is the same thing with the fill. Where is the actual bottom on this thing? How much data does this thing have? I'm looking at it on Binance again. We started out way up top here. Is that the whole history of this coin? And if it is, you got to wait for this thing to put in some sort of long saucer bottom to actually tell you where the base is. And, this kind of action, that's not the base. If anything, if this was the base, you wanted to see a long saucer bottom and then this market tick up. And when it did come back down against these lows, it would turn back up and make new highs. So it did come back down here. It turned back up and then it just got absolutely bitch slapped there. Boom, get your ass down, made new lows, which tells me that this is probably your saucer bottom. It's a massive one. And if we're lucky, this is the head. But you can't determine that right now. You just can't. But your comment about OBV is totally spot on. I would get the impression that whoever's investing in this, it's a shame. Like it looks like all the public, they got trapped up top here. And you might find that, we look at this and there's actually a big wick there and we have a whole bunch of trap bulls up top. That wouldn't surprise me. Interesting looking chart. It's actually very candle body-ish up there. Looks like things were rocking and rolling and then something happened. Clearly, no doubt, something really negative happened fundamental wise right here. Whatever this date was right there, whoever asked me to look into this, I would say you need to figure out what it was that happened here fundamentally, and that story hasn't changed yet. So whatever it was that broke the market on that date, that hasn't reversed. So it's kind of a shame. It does look like the bear has fallen asleep, and it does look like the bull tried to wake up here, but then you notice so something happened here on this date to try and change the story. So it would be interesting to go and if you are a fan of this and you're asking specifically about this asset, what fundamentally happened through this window? Was there a launch of some sort of new project? I don't know if that's the right word or not. Whatever this was, did that offset whatever that event was? And then I suppose if you believe in M's and W's, really, I might even argue if we do a trend line, boom, boom. Okay, so we've broken that, but we might go boom, boom. All right, so there is your market. And oh boy, is that ever a wide window, eh? Oh boy. And if we look at this on, it is on a log scale. All right, so actually that makes it a little easier. Notice that this is still positive numbers. So we could very easily have to come down and trade against that trend line. Of course, none of you want to hear that. Also, too, I know David, like tomorrow, Tuesdays, we have our stock pickers club. If I showed him this chart, my hunch is he's probably going to draw a trend line from there down to there. So that gives you some idea of support. Oh boy, that's a long way down. Also, maybe yeah, see, I don't really like the fact that we're now moving well below that level. That's not a good sign. So love it. You're considering at the bottom end of your range. We have clearly OBV div. And on this recent break to new lows, the sellers really haven't shown up here. So I wholeheartedly agree with you in that regard. Now, I think what you need to see is you got to see some sort of market structure bottom here to actually justify being bullish. And I just don't see any W's yet. But if you're really lucky and these lows hold in here, and we can get a turn back up through these highs, then maybe the beginnings of your W are going to come in. But if we look at this on a weekly chart, right, and then we go like lines, where did all our W's go? So I like location, right? Cheap ass. Excellent. I actually don't mind this OBV. Like I said, it looks like buyers are interested. I don't like. See this double top here? So you could actually argue volume impetus. The volume impetus study actually is this. It's up. There's the first high. And we backed off. Then notice this is the second high because this high is slightly higher than that high, right? That high there is 238 million tokens. And then this high here, 232. Uh-oh. Now, I'm not quite sure how to interpret this because there is no really quiet candle through here, but definitely this thing's not a bull until, in my opinion, this is taken out. That's a nasty top there. So you got to call up these guys and say, you know what? You got to get buyers to come in, step up and break this top. And what we really need to see is a trend of higher lows and higher highs on volume. Kind of like you see how it based out here. And then we started to make higher highs and higher lows on volume. And things were rocking and rolling. It was looking pretty good here. And then all of a sudden, something happened on this day. Was it an issuance? Was it the start of a new token? Also, don't look at the bearish momentum divergence here. Also, too, probably we can see this on MACD. Yeah. So, had it on Willie, had it on MACD. Something went wrong here. And that's about the only way to describe it. Something went terribly wrong here. Momentum broke violently, and price just hasn't looked back. So, I like how it's on your radar screen. I like how you've noticed the OBV. Price momentum itself really is technically stupid, and maybe we're going to have a W come in here. And if this W does come in here, i.e., we hold these lows and we can turn back up, and there's some sort of rally here, and we get it on some volume, then I think you got something to work with. But the only thing I see right now so far is, yep, the OBV does paint a very interesting picture for divergence. And we always say volume divergences are totally cool, but I'd like to see this volume impetus turn up here. And I'd like to see these momentum indicators turn up. And then once all that's happened, then I want to actually see a W in price. So it's going to be a while before this thing turns back up, in my opinion.